Hello everyone. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the movie The Last Warrior. Enjoy the movie. Alyosha, the legendary warrior, is being pursued by several troops through the woods in Belgorod, a parallel version of ancient Russia. Alyosha avoids their arrows and chops down a tree to obstruct their path, but an owl unexpectedly tackles him off his horse. Now that he has to battle every soldier one-on-one, Alyosha defeats them all in a matter of seconds, including deflecting an arrow that the archer threw back with his bare hand. That's when the owl reappears, this time as the sorceress Varvara, who hits Alyosha's blade with a magic whip to soften it. When a soldier carrying Alyosha's horse comes, the horse changes into the white wizard Svitozar, and Alyosha can't stop sneezing due to the powder magic that remains in the animal. He is turned into stone by Varvara, who is enraged, and the knights cast him and the other warriors cursed into the sea. Varvara is prepared to assault Svitozar after declaring that the final knight has vanished. Svitozar flees and leaps into the water, where he swims away by changing into a fish. Con artist Ivan enters a psychic competition in contemporary Moscow in the meanwhile. After much theater, he cheats to win the competition by using information that he obtained from a staff member while pretending to be the sun god. Following the performance, an elderly woman approaches him bearing a foreboding vision of his journeying to another realm, setting a running cabin on fire, and ultimately meeting his demise. Ivan, nevertheless, doesn't regard her seriously. Ivan meets with a customer the following day and, once again, uses a lot of theatrics and foolish speech to acquire her money while performing a ceremony to purify her aura. He even goes so far as to inform her, which is untrue, that her husband is having an affair. After that, he gets a call from a woman asking him to wake up her unconscious nephew, and she drives him to the hospital. But Ivan can't bring himself to lie in a situation this severe, so he walks away. He recalls a childhood episode as he is leaving. Growing up in an orphanage, Ivan was frequently teased by the other children for his belief in Santa and magic. The lights went out when the kids confined him inside a closet one night and no one realized that he was missing. Fortunately, Ivan used a needle he discovered in the cupboard to unlock the lock and get out. Subsequently, he sewed many blankets to the beds where the mischievous children slept using the same needle. They were ridiculed by everyone the following morning when they were unable to escape. Ivan has kept the needle in a necklace ever since. Later, as Ivan is in the mall, the client's husband approaches him. He is enraged over the deception and has brought 2 bodyguards with him. Ivan bolts from the scene, knocking obstacles out of his way, and hides at the beauty parlor. Ivan dashes inside the changing area in order to reach the swimming pool and ride the water slide before the bodyguards nearly catch up to him. But he lands in Belgorod instead of in a swimming pool. Ivan looks inside the tree he came from, confused, and is surprised to see Svitozar following him around. Ivan gets a stick to strike Svitozar since he's becoming irritated, but Svitozar turns it into a whole tree and even gives Ivan his own tail. Ivan is here, the wizard adds, because he is the son of Muromets, a great warrior from Russian folklore. Svitozar was ordered by Ivan's parents to conceal him on a different planet a long time ago, but now that he's their last hope, he had to bring him back. They hear a disturbance at that very time, and Svitozar hands Ivan his father's ring just before an arrow hits him and causes him to crumble. Ivan says that he is the son of Muromets as a group of troops soon encircle him, but it doesn't deter the men from approaching. Ivan flees away in an attempt to divert their attention with theatricals, but he is captured after hitting his head on a tree. As all of this is going on, at the castle, Prince Dobrynya is having fun while flaunting his fighting prowess when the knights enter with Ivan and reveal that he is Muromets' son. Dobrynya trusts Ivan when she sees his ring and gives him a warm greeting. Varvara appears at that precise time, announcing she has wed the prince. She suggests that Ivan must be exhausted and appears to lead him to a bedroom, but in reality, she gives the order for the guards to shackle and cast Ivan into the dungeon. Ivan looks around and finds that Kashyai, a frozen guy whose body has been broken into several parts, is in the adjacent cage. He recognizes Ivan and tells him that everything is genuine, yet Ivan recalls that he shoved a man aside as he leaped into the swimming pool and questions whether this is indeed the son of Muromets. After telling a tale, Kashyai clarifies that Ivan may only return home by locating the enchanted sword. There was a strong magician and a keen apprentice. The magician chose to become immortal, and in order to do so, he had to insert a magic crystal into the magic sword while there was a sun eclipse. But the apprentice killed the magician out of jealousy and then claimed immortality for himself. That day, eternal darkness descended over this globe as his soul was fashioned into the crystal, so forging his death as well. The apprentice in question turns out to be Kashii, the man who controlled the country for a millennium until some warriors stole his sword and used it to destroy him, removing the crystal's power. In addition, they cast a spell over the blade, which Murametz concealed. When the crystal was finally taken, Dobrynya banished Kashii to the prison. Since fighters are no longer needed, Kashii is the only one who knows where the sword is, and Ivan will most likely be put to death in the morning. The knights then introduce Baba Yaga, an elderly witch, as a new prisoner. The guard starts going through Ivan's belongings and calls the phone a devil after being shocked by it. He then tosses the cash into the fire. Baba Yaga releases a frog by blowing magic breath into her pocket while he is preoccupied. This small kid turns into Vasilisa, who gives the guard a drink that has a sedative in it to make him sleep. Next, she sets Baba Yaga free, and the two ladies jointly liberate Kashii, shattering all the ice so he may reattach his limbs. As part of her scheme to set him free, Baba Yaga really surrendered herself in. Ivan persuades the three of them to take him along as they are about to depart. Ivan retrieves everything he left behind, but on their way out he pushes the security guard by mistake, setting off the emergency bell. Soon after, other troops arrive, and Vasilisa and Kashii engage in combat with them. Vasilisa moves quickly and well to take them out, although Kashii doesn't move much since he isn't killed by stabbing. He even flings his arm to grasp a guard's face before using a bowl to knock him unconscious. When Vasilisa is gripped by the neck, Ivan tries to aid, but Baba Yaga spits acid in the man's face, causing her to hit Vasilisa with the bag Ivan is throwing. This at least lets her finish the man now. The guard then gets up and chases after Ivan, who uses his phone to snap a photo of himself and tells him he has his soul. Ivan seizes the opportunity to lock the guard in the cell as he freezes, but the guard just yanks at his tail and removes it. After making it outdoors safely, the party hides in Baba Yaga's chicken-legged home. Ivan nearly falls as the soldiers pursue him and throw arrows at him, but Kashii saves him. The soldiers then attempt to stop the bridge, but Baba Yaga just gives the hut more fire, causing it to move faster and eventually vault over the outer wall. Varvara transforms into an owl to join the troops as the hunt proceeds through the forest, but Baba Yaga spots her and strikes her by launching a pot through the chimney. As Varvara stumbles, the knights come running to her aid, allowing the party to safely escape. When the home finally settles in the midst of the jungle the following morning, Baba Yaga emerges floating in a large bucket. Ivan uses his lighter to obtain better sight when she asks him to fetch the cauldron from the hut, but he unintentionally starts a fire that only becomes worse when he attempts to put it out. Baba Yaga and Vasilisa arrive to try to salvage as much as they can before the house escapes after he promptly alerts the others. Ivan questions if he will truly die here after being reminded of the prophecy the elderly woman gave him in the city. Ivan is attacked by an enraged Baba Yaga, who makes threats to devour him. Kashii intervenes, telling her that he is the only one who knows where the magic sword is. Vasilisa offers Ivan a potion to neutralize any curse Baba Yaga may have placed on him as they prepare to leave. But this is all a trick. After drinking it, Ivan begins to speak in a loud voice that startles the birds and causes Baba Yaga to trip. Fortunately, she heals him soon. The gang then sets out to find the magic sword, which is buried in the White Mountains. Ivan and Kashii snap a lot of amusing selfies while traveling, but Ivan also runs across strange flowers that want to snag him until Kashii cuts them off. Unaware that Varvara and her men are pursuing them, the gang bonds and enjoys themselves together. One of the soldiers treads on a magical plant as they reach the forest, and moss grows all over his body until plants start to sprout from it. A merman lives in a marsh, and the gang stops there later to seek permission to cross the Death River safely. Vasilisa uses the marsh as bait, but when Vadiano approaches her, his buddy Lobster informs him that she is nothing more than a frog. Vasilisa is attacked by Vadiano out of rage, but Ivan and Kashii arrive to protect her and mediate. Baba Yaga eats a magical apple to seem younger, even though she knows it won't work. After succumbing to Baba Yaga's flirtations, Vadiano agrees to lead the group. However, they must first fill Yaga's bucket with water. Varvara arrives at the marsh shortly after the company departs, and she uses her magic to extract information from the lobster. Next, she launches a magical arrow in the direction of the palace, striking a guard and enabling Varvara to take control of him in order to inform Dobrynya. Returning to the gang, they climb a hill using Kashiai's arm as a hook. After much traveling, they reach a cave that is home to a giant. They move stealthily, but all of a sudden Ivan's alarm goes off, warning the behemoth of their approach. When Korshai tries to reason, the monster knocks him aside and launches an assault on the group. Everyone flees, but Vadianoi has to get aid right away because his bucket fell and he is now without water. Ivan notices that the giant is female as he observes the adversary, and this offers him an idea. He puts his phone down, turns on some music, and begins to dance and flirt with the big. The monster is thrilled and follows along. As the others take advantage of the opportunity to go, Ivan ends the dance by giving the enormous flowers to them before following the others. They eventually arrive at the piranha-filled Death River a little while later. When Vadianoi dives in to attempt and establish his supremacy, he comes out with his mouth full of piranhas. The river no longer hears him after he's been gone for years. Things grow so heated that they almost turn violent during a disagreement on how to move forward, but Ivan breaks them up. After Vasilisa gives up and goes, Kashiai tells Ivan what's wrong. When Dobrynya showed interest in Vasilisa when they were passing through her town some time ago, Varvara became so envious that she cursed Vasilisa and her family into turning into frogs. Because of Baba Yaga, she can only assume human form at this time, yet the sword will be necessary to preserve her family. Ivan approaches Vasilisa and tries to cheer her up by giving her a charming tiny rabbit, but Vasilisa hastily throws the animal aside after noticing that its eyes are shining blue. The rabbit changes into Varvara and tries to attack them with a magic sword just as she is ready to kill it. The party rushes into a well to escape as the soldiers quickly surround them after the pair dodges barely in time and returns to warn the rest. After lighting a fire, Baba Yaga leaps in as well, closing the entrance behind her. Vadianoi feels deceived as Yaga loses her chance in the sea. Vadianoi decides to continue assisting them despite the troops' attempts to breach the entry in order to apprehend them. They can utilize the tunnel located at the bottom of the well, so Vadianoi swallows all the water until the people touch the ground. Subsequently, the party manages to shove aside a boulder and escape down the tunnel, but Vadianoi remains behind to close off the opening. Varvara enters the well at that precise time, and as Vadianoi spits water at her, she turns him into stone. Varvara is propelled out of the well and all the water is forced out of his body as a result. The gang emerges from the tunnel and follows a road into the mountains a short while later. Baba Yaga sneezes, causing a boulder to fall. Just in time, Ivan leaps on Kashiai, pushing him aside. Kashiai finds this absurd because he is eternal, but they must assist him immediately when he is crushed by another boulder. When they pause for a breather in the evening, Ivan gives Vasilisa his needle necklace. Ivan awakens first the following morning and is taken prisoner by Varvara, whose men rapidly encircle the group. Then Varvara throws Kashiai about with her magic whip, but she avoids it and unintentionally tumbles down the cliff as she attempts to harm Vasilisa as well. Vasilisa is clinging onto Ivan's jewelry in her frog form after it became lodged on a boulder. The soldiers believe she has perished and depart with their new captives. Ivan assumes the truth after hearing her croak. Varvara leads the company to the White Mountains after a great deal of trekking, where a large number of weapons that date back to the ancient era of warfare are buried. Ivan finds a magic sword when Varvara gives him the command to locate one by chance, but the sword breaks in his hands. When he tries to flee, Varvara corners him with a whipping motion. Ivan, terrified, grabs another random sword, and to everyone's surprise, it turns out to be the actual one. Varvara's whip is instantly destroyed by him, and he launches her into the air, unintentionally slicing a rock in the process. After forcing the troops to submit, he releases his buddies and hands Kashiai the sword. Dobrynya shows up at that same moment and admits that he has been collaborating with Varvara all along. To retrieve his soul, Kashiai trades the sword for the magic crystal that the witch actually has, only to discover that the crystal is a fake. Vasilisa unexpectedly emerges from concealment and assaults Dobrynya, allowing Ivan to overcome the guards and get the sword. Vasilisa orders Ivan to assist as the enemy prepares to fight, but Ivan uses the sword to open a portal and leaves the battlefield to return to his home realm. Vasilisa tosses his necklace at him in a fit of rage. Ivan landed in a cafe in Moscow, but he seems casual. He keeps feeling bad the rest of the day, especially when he sees the photos on his phone. He makes the decision to go back to the pool and attempts to slide down the same one, but nothing occurs and he is ultimately taken into custody. He is surprised to find Svetozer in the jail as well. It seems he fled to this realm after being struck by the arrow. Ivan employs his mental tricks to persuade a police officer that he is cursed, but that he may be healed with the staff since, regrettably, he cannot do magic without it. They take the staff from the officer, and Svetozer shoots the officer down and opens a gateway with it. The wizard offers Ivan magic dust to feed the dragon that is imprisoned in Dobrynia's dungeon before Ivan departs. Ivan successfully clears the gateway, but regrettably, Svetozer is apprehended by the arriving police. When Ivan slips inside the dungeon of Belagori Castle, he is let down to see that the dragon is little. He tries applying the powder, but it has no effect. Ivan drops the powder bag when guards discover him and whisk him away at that same time. It is now plenty for the dragon to devour. Ivan is then led to the royal room, where Dobrynia is awaiting the eclipse in order to perform the ceremony of immortality. When Varvara tackles Ivan for trying to shoot the crystal when he suddenly reveals he's brought a pistol, he shoots Dobrynia instead. Unfortunately, the shot didn't come in time to stop the ceremony, and as Dobrynia is now immortal, he recovers quickly. The dragon flies through the window as Dobrynia prepares to slay Ivan, and as the prince kicks it, the little creature breathes fire on his face. Ivan takes advantage of the confusion created by the dragon's magnificent flames as he flies around the room, freeing Vasilisa and apologizing. Vasilisa gives him a kiss as well as a punch for it. Dobrynia stops the dragon at that precise time by using the sword to block the flames. Ivan then asks Dobrynia to engage in a traditional sword combat, creating a fresh source of diversion. Vasilisa tries to grab the magic blade during their struggle, but Varvara attacks her instead, and the ladies begin fighting among themselves. Varvara defends herself with the magic sword, and the crystal spills out of it. Kashiai is also let free by the dragon as both pairings battle valiantly. Combating Ivan tells Dobrynia that he teamed up with Varvara to take over the country because he was resentful of his father. Due to Ivan's lack of experience and quick defeat, Dobrynia breaks his needle necklace. Kashiai pulls up the crystal abruptly, but Varvara cuts his arm off with an axe before he can destroy it. After Ivan uses the needle to injure Dobrynia's foot to divert his attention, Kashiai manipulates his arm to cause it to hurl the crystal, which he subsequently smashes with the magic sword. Dobrynia and Kashiai are killed by this deed since it contains their souls. After losing the battle, Varvara takes off through the window to flee, and Ivan's father is revealed as the statue in the center of the room transforms back into a person. Following their triumph, there is a feast to celebrate, and it is during this event that Baba Yaga makes her comeback as a young woman to thank Vadianoi for his assistance. Ivan asks his father for a favor after noticing a young waiter. Shortly after, Ivan shows up in the Moscow hospital and uses a concoction from Baba Yaga to revive the kid who is unconscious. But instead of staying, he goes back to Belagori, where he rides the walking hut with Vasilisa to meet her parents and begin a new life. Every statue in the water returns to normal and walks out to find their homes. In the meantime, Varvara makes an appearance in Moscow and announces that she is Ivan's housekeeper's daughter. They will now need to devise a new strategy, as their first one has now failed.